Hey, good morning, everybody. This is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. Quick check of the severe weather setup for this afternoon. I always like to keep these short, but I tell you what, they end up running on because they start getting into what's happening. So I'll try to keep this one as short as possible. Quick check of the current conditions. You can see we've got this big mesoscale convective system, something we call an MCS for short. There's actually two pieces to it up here over parts of Ohio and then another one in the northeast. If I turn the temperatures off, you can see we're in the low 80s out there. You get a real nice view of this. I'm going to start a loop here so you get a little better perspective on where this thing is moving. You can see the twist in the atmosphere, pretty impressive looking system. Now, whether it technically classified as a derecho or not, I'm sure we'll argue this to death, but we really won't know probably till all the reports come in. There are signs that for a while it was a derecho in Indiana and Ohio. I would argue it probably transitioned more to a linear mesoscale convective system, we call it. Either way, it's a big wind producer, and that's what's going on right now. If you look closely here, you can see we've got this little cluster of storms back here. There's a little comma head there. This is the big comma head right here. So we've got two pieces, number one and number two. But what's going on is these little outflows coming out of this and the outflow coming out of this are both moving down in this direction. And what does that mean for the Charlotte area later today? Well, that likely means we're going to see storms develop in the heating of the afternoon, because as these things get closer to us, the atmosphere over the Carolinas is destabilizing. Temperatures are in the 80s already, but take a look at the dew point temperatures. I'll pop those back up. Low to mid 70s in some case. So you combine the very warm, moist, low levels of the atmosphere, and you end up with thunderstorm fuel, or CAPE we call it, that is ridiculously high in many locations already this morning. I'm doing this at 9:14 in the morning. So you look at these areas in red, this is a solid 3 to 4,000 CAPE. If you look over here, your scale is on the left side there. That'll give you a good idea on what you're looking at. So that's the CAPEs, and you can see as that band of showers and thunderstorms comes down here, it's going to be interacting with what is an increasingly moist, unstable air mass. Now, a couple of things I look at is 1 kilometer shear, storm relative helicity, a little higher to the north than over us right now. Effective storm relative helicity is something a little bit better I like to look at. And you can see we've got some higher amounts, but it's clearly higher the closer this thing is to you. So as it gets closer, we'll see that helicity value come up. So while it's primarily a severe weather threat in the form of wind, there's a chance if cells develop out ahead of these main lines, we could see some tornadoes. So in fact, what you're looking at here is the supercell parameter. What are the chances of a supercell forming? And if you look closely here in the North Carolina, Virginia border area, we've got some amounts that are approaching 8. And there, again, your legend is here on the left side. So that gives you a good idea. Supercell parameter is pretty high. And then significant tornado parameter, you can see pretty high along the line, but that will affect in here today. That being said, we absolutely could see a tornado with any individual cells that develop out of the main line, but likely the main case is going to be a big wind event coming down from the north and west. So let's start looking at some model data. The first thing we'll look at is the NAM4. We'll start at 8 a.m. this morning. Did not have a very good handle on the MCS. Did a little bit better with the secondary system coming down. We'll go to 2 p.m. this afternoon. That's 2 o'clock this afternoon. Went a little quick there. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 p.m. this evening. You can see a nice squall line forming, and if you look at the characteristics of these lines, it looks like they're bowing segments, some embedded what we call line echo wave pattern, SE curves to it. When you get an S-type curve, you tend to get some little spin-ups. Very hard to forecast those tornadoes. They spin up quick and they go down, but that's where the tornado threat may come from the NAM4. There's your 6 o'clock, there's 7 o'clock, there's 8 o'clock, 9, 10, 11, 12, midnight. So that gives you a good idea. Short range models, let's crank up the high resolution short range model called the HRR. This updates only every updates every 3 hours and runs 12 hours. So we'll go out to 2 p.m. this afternoon. Very similar. You see more cells because it's a higher resolution model. Here's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. You see basically the same thing. A line approaching the Charlotte area, 6 o'clock. We only have 1 more hour of data. So this is 6 p.m. on the HRR. HRW model. We'll back it up a little bit here. We'll go to 2 p.m. Seems like 2 p.m. is kind of the trigger for the mountains. 3, 4, 5, 6 p.m. This is interesting, a little Boeing segment and a little maybe meso vortice there of some kind of induced vorticity. That'll be interesting to see. The HRW sometimes is out to lunch, but you can see that kind of all have the same thought. It develops more of another MCS in eastern North Carolina and races off to the east. And then last but not least, I always like to take a look at the NAM, the regular old NAM model. We'll go out, actually went out too quick there. We'll go out to this afternoon. There's the big line. And again, this is roughly about 5 to 6 p.m. So looking at all the model data, they all kind of concur with the same basic principle. We're going to have storms arriving in the Charlotte area at about, I would say, between 5 and 8 p.m. And the main threat, again, is going to be straight line winds. And we likely will see some isolated tornadoes. But just like we're seeing up here today, we've got a tornado watch in effect for areas of Kentucky, southern Ohio, and West Virginia. I suspect by, let's see, this one I think goes till 2 o'clock. So that's, yeah, that would basically put the line there in the mountains. So expect a watch to be issued for our area between 2 and 4 this afternoon for severe thunderstorms. Again, that's just a quick update on what's going on with the system. We'll loop it one more time so you get a look at it. I'll keep things up to date on Facebook and Twitter, but we've got some time to prepare. Things don't start cranking until later this afternoon, and it really looks like a dinner time threat for the Charlotte area. wxbrad on Twitter, that's where you'll get the most frequent and up-to-date information. Facebook, Google+, WCNC.com, and we'll be on the air starting today at 4. Well, actually, not 4. It depends on the U.S. Open. I forgot. U.S. Open going on up here in the Philadelphia area. Delayed right now because of rain, but NBC coverage of the U.S. Open golf tournament will be on through 5 p.m. So unless it's still raining, we will likely not be on until 5 o'clock this afternoon on NBC Charlotte. We'll see you then. Hope you have a great day.